Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again, and as you guys can hear, I have a little bit of laryngitis thing going on. I've had it since like Saturday, and I didn't really know what it was, and then I ended up doing like hour-long videos both those days, and then one on Monday with Safi. So I'm really trying to take a step back in terms of doing long videos, just at least until I'm better. And I'll have Safi do some videos, and I've got a lot of stuff to do. But anyways, today I am here to review American Dad Season 20, Episode 4, Camera Stan. And I'm going to read the synopsis. Stan thinks he has what it takes to thrive on reality TV. Klaus gets himself a Klaus. So yeah, kind of like a random mishmash of stories here once again. And look, it's really funny because I don't ever remember seeing so many episodes where I think that there were like two plots that could have been their own episodes. But this isn't like in terms of American Dad, but this is another one where I would say this would deserve like two different episodes. The first plot, let's talk about the reality show plot, because that one, it was kind of I was not a fan of it, to be honest. I genuinely felt like there was an interesting idea there. Roger is the producer of these reality shows, these very bizarre ones, like there was one like Last Cannibal Standing, which honestly, that sounded like a really, really fun like horror show. If you did like a reality show, Last Cannibal Standing, because what does that imply? That implies that, you're like trapped on an island and, you all have to eat each other and kill each other, and like that's really dark. And I think it's also kind of funny. And so Roger puts Stan on what Stan thinks is something like America's All-Stars or Mr. He had like a nickname, Mr. Imbossum or so. What the fuck is the name? Come on, I don't want to look like an idiot. Okay, Gary Umbasules. Oh, okay, I can see why, because it rhymes with the other thing. Okay, Gary Umbasules All Stars, and you see this cast of characters, and it's so funny because Safi and I are watching Fear Factor, and we were totally reminded of like all the people that are on this crappy Fear Factor, this what we like to call Soy Factor, House of Soy. And literally every single person on this cast list, this fake cast list, is almost exactly like everyone that's on Fear Factor, House of Soy. And then they do the same thing where it's like, oh, we're all living in a house. And it just, to be honest, I think this is where the episode really failed. It failed in the actual meat and potatoes of the episode, because I did not really find Stan very funny. He basically, he's really dumb. It's really, really dumb, bottom of the barrel humor. Like, the first thing he does is he twerks for the camera, and he starts, like, dancing like a stripper, and then he tears off his sleeves, and honestly, this was the weird part, and I don't think that they were intending this, but he's wearing this orange hoodie without the sleeves the whole episode, and to me, I thought he looks like Fred from the Flintstones. I thought he looked like Fred Flintstone. They could have easily done, or they could easily do like a Flintstones parody episode, by the way. That would be really fun. That would be a great idea, but I just found it odd that that they gave him that wardrobe specifically, like, you know, because it's so reminiscent of the Flintstones, and there's nothing else Flintstones in the episode, so it's kind of weird. But yeah. So, anyways, the whole thing with him in the show is not really good. It's just him going around annoying people, and I guess it's kind of funny. Like, some of the other characters are funny at first, but it goes by really, really fast, and you don't really get much time to kind of do a lot with this reality show concept. The big thing is Roger brings them out all on stage, and he reveals that he has actually been making Gary Imbecile's losers or something. Or no. Wait, what is it? Oh, no. Gary Imbecile's imbeciles. So it's so that was the joke, was like Roger was making all these people think that they're gonna be like on this all-star show, like they're the all-stars of America. And then at the very end he says, "You're just a bunch of imbeciles." I mean, it is so funny because there are so many of these people that like actually go on these reality shows like that Fear Factor one, and they think so highly of themselves, and it would just be so fucking hilarious if at the very end the host was like, "Well, actually, you guys are a bunch of imbeciles." I mean, it is just really, really, really funny. It's funnier thinking about it than when I actually watched it, you know? Like, that's how funny it is to me. But it sucks because the characters, you don't really get much of a reaction except from Stan, and it's all kind of cut quick because there's another plot that's added on to the reality show plot, which I felt was unnecessary. I guess this long time ago or some time ago, Stan infiltrated these Canadian terrorists, and they're pretty funny. You know, they are funny characters. They could do a whole Canadian episode. Like, if you guys have ever seen... I think my cat might want to come in. If you guys have ever seen the show and movie Strange Brew, or those guys with the Rick Moranis and the other guy, that was a really, really fun and good Canadian movie. And then and before that, they had the show that a lot of people loved, and so maybe that was the inspiration for these Canadian terrorists, which actually that's very, very smart. And I applaud them for that. You know, I didn't even think about that, but actually that might be, because when we see the Canadian terrorists, they kind of look like, like the guys. I can't remember their names, but they kind of look a little bit like them in terms of how they're dressed and how they're... I don't know. But, yeah. But anyways, they conspire to go to the TV studio building. I don't know how they'd have the address and how they'd be able to get there so fast, because they're watching it live on air. So that was kind of dumb. But they arrive there, and they're going to blow up the studio. And obviously what ends up happening is Stan thwarts them all. He kills them all. He takes them all down. It's very predictable, but I guess it's kind of like, oh, well, then he actually looks good at the end, I guess, on TV. I just really feel like there were too many plots going on in this episode, and I think that, they should have been separated. They would have been a lot better if they had more room to breathe, because I think that the best plot of this episode was actually the C plot, which we will talk about after a real-life story. So, what's really funny about this episode, and what's been really funny about these American Dad episodes, is that they have been kind of colliding with real life for me. Where last week I watched the episode that basically told you should you should take a break, and then I have my off day, and I didn't really take a break or an off day, and and now this episode, it has this terrorist element where they're trying to bomb Stan. And guess what happened last night, guys? And actually, what's even creepier and weirder is that the night before, I watched Scream 3, and in Scream 3, there is a part where a character gets blown up in their house, and it's like really surprising. The whole house gets blown up and everything, and the one character gets killed. I don't want to spoil who it is in case someone here really wants to watch Scream 3 and they haven't seen it yet, even though it came out 26 years ago. It might be the first time for someone. But it's so funny because last night I was supposed to make enchiladas. And, Safi, she set up all the ingredients. She was making tea. So she turned on the tea water in the back of the stove. And then in the front of the stove, she put the baking dish and the pan in the center of the stove. But she did not put it on top of a burner or anything. And while she was in the bathroom, I was about to go in the kitchen. But I heard this loud glass shatter. And then, all of a sudden, Safi went in there. She was, she and someone else were cleaning it up. And then, all of a sudden, I was walking in there, and I heard this loud pop. It was a very disturbing noise. I thought maybe it was like a gunshot or something. And I went into the kitchen, and there was smoke. There was a big cloud of smoke in the kitchen. And this is actually more entertaining than the episode, to be honest. I didn't really like this episode. I thought it was kind of weak. It was kind of very split, and it was kind of dumb. But what happened, I guess, was somehow a burner on the stove malfunctioned. Somehow. And that led to the glass dish getting destroyed and shattering. And then, after that, the Pam bottle exploded. And not only that, but the Pam bottle shot up into the ceiling and left a big hole in the ceiling. That's why I thought it was like a gunshot at first, because I thought, did someone shoot? And like it was like a gunshot hole or something. Like, it was so hilarious, but so disturbing. And there was glass and the cooking oil, cooking spray, and pieces of the Pam bottle everywhere, all over the fucking place. And the coils on the stove, they actually came out of the stove and they caved in, and the center caved in. So we don't even really know what exactly happened. I still hold the opinion that I think that the stove coils malfunctioned somehow, and that led to, because that stove part wasn't even on, and it doesn't really make sense how. But none of the glass dish and the pan were not exposed to heat at all. We put that on the stove all the time to make dinner. Like, and she didn't think it would be on there for too long, too. But that it was really scary because, guys, I was literally a minute away from going into the kitchen. A minute away. So I was a minute away from becoming Harry Osborn in Spider-Man 3. But alas, I defeated it and I avoided it because I was actually busy in my room doing something, and I was kind of like, I was kind of late and, going in there to make dinner. And so it's so funny that it turned out like that. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else funny about that story, because it's really not a funny story, because I would have been seriously injured if I was in the kitchen. it would have been really, really bad. And it's just really funny that in this episode, you have these Canadian terrorists, and they're going to bomb the studio, and then, at home, I'm going into the kitchen to make enchiladas, and, boom, boom, and apparently, too, because I looked this up later, it turns out that a lot of Pam cooking spray bottles are exploding all by themselves. And it's something about the bottom, and there have been lawsuits over Pam cooking spray bottles like exploding on their own, and so that's pretty scary. And I just thought that was worth sharing. I know that like this isn't really the topic of the video, but I wouldn't really make any other video other than this today. So it is my off day. So the last plot, the best part of the episode, is Klaus. He is feeling kind of sad because his family did not include him in something, and which, whatever, I mean, we've seen this plot over and over with this series. Like, Roger feels unappreciated, Klaus feels underappreciated. Like, because they naturally are not really a part of the family. They're not the family, but they kind of are. And so Klaus says he's going to get himself his own Klaus. And I think he finds a guy named Klaus at Starbucks. And he has Dr. Weitzman turn him into a snail. And then he's going to make him be his friend and make him be with him forever. And then Klaus, the other guy, he calls the Starbucks and tells all the other coworkers that he's been turned into a snail. So then Klaus has to turn them all into snails too. And it's just so funny and so simple and so genius and weird. And I loved it. I loved that part of the episode. I thought it was very funny. It kind of reminded me of like Toy Story a little bit. I almost think, hear me out, guys, I think that this could have been a genius two-parter, or maybe just two different episodes. Number one, you could have Klaus trying to make a quick buck. Maybe he wants to buy something and the family won't let him. And so he turns people into snails and then sells them, or he has Steve sell them to kids at school. I mean, that would be really funny and really weird. Or number two, just the idea that they already did where like Klaus has these people held hostage as snails to be his friends. And what's going to happen with that? Like, it is a very funny but dark kind of story. And I could almost imagine it being like a Halloween episode, where Klaus is just holding them and he won't let them go. And it's just really funny, because Klaus is a fish and they're snails. And it's very simple, but it's very, very funny. I really like that a lot. I think that should have been the whole episode. It was my favorite part. But I would give this episode, because I don't know, like, the Flume Room thing I didn't like. No, this was better than that. So I would give this episode, I can't remember what I gave the Flume Room, but this was better than that. I would give it a C+, because I didn't like I thought it wasn't very funny. I think it should have been more focused and simple, because then you can do a lot more things. I think that there's a lot of plots, and that sometimes they can feel like, like you don't have very much time to do a lot of jokes, because there's a lot going on. So overall, that's it. So please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought of the episode. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest American Dad reviews. And lastly, if you'd like to support this channel even further, please head on over to our Patreon page. because there you will find exclusive access to bonus content, my full spoiler-filled movie reviews, my short film in both color and black and white, and tons of other content coming soon. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon. In fact, very sadly, the next episode will not be on for, let's see, how many weeks? 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4. Oh my God! It's going to be a month before the next American Dad episode. That sucks. But actually, to be quite honest, I'm very thankful because I literally have 18 videos that I'm behind on, which I really hate that. I think that it kind of ruins the channel because, like, I shouldn't have to be, like, constantly behind. You know, like, I'd love to just, review stuff during the week, and then that's it, but yeah. So anyways, goodbye, everybody. See you soon.